Hello and welcome to the That's the Story show. This week we've got songs, stories, prizes, over $500 worth to be won this term alone. My goodness gracious me, let's get into it with a crazy little cartoon about a chap called Moany Macaroni.
Moany Macaroni was born twice in Twizel. The first time he didn't like it at all, so he went back to where he came from, but they didn't want him there, so they kicked him out, and so Moany Macaroni was born twice in Twizel. Moany Macaroni didn't like much about Twizel. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't Twizel's fault. Moany Macaroni took great pleasure in disliking everything and moaned about it continually.
They didn't make footpaths like this when I was a boy. Why don't they make them softer and a lovely shade of blue?
Moaned Moany Macaroni.
I wish they could turn down the sun a bit. Why don't they make cars go slower? Why don't they make cars go faster? Why does the sun have to be so bright? There's really no need for it at all. And all that brightness, it's really just showing off, that's all.
In fact, the only thing that Moany Macaroni liked about anything at all was moaning. Once in a grocer's shop, there was this lovely lady showing the grocer some tomatoes she had bought just that morning. She wasn't really complaining, she was just showing the shopkeeper how the tomatoes were rotten and could she have a replacement please. But in came Moany Macaroni moaning about people moaning.
Oh, stop your moaning, complaining and whinging, moan, 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 just take your tomatoes and go. Some of us have got some real moaning to do.
And then he started to moan at the shopkeeper about how orange his oranges were, and how he didn't particularly like the shade of red his plums were.
And why can't your bananas be purple? I like purple. Don't see why they always have to be yellow.
In the library, Moany Macaroni would moan in a whisper ever so quietly.
I don't see why we have to keep quiet. It's only a library. They're only reading. It's not like they're trying to hear the tally or anything.
Even when he was asleep at night, you could hear him talking in his sleep.
Stupid dream. That would never happen in real life. Why can't I dream a better dream? Who makes this stuff up? It's just silly.
Yes, indeed. If moaning was a sport, Moany Macaroni would be world champion.
Of course I would. No one else can do it right.
One bright sunny day that Moany Macaroni was particularly annoyed with, he was walking over the footbridge that crossed the railway line. He was counting the toothpicks in a packet of toothpicks he had bought. The packet had said, contains 150 toothpicks. He was making sure there was 150 toothpicks when he noticed a bolt on the ground. He bent over and picked it up. It was a bolt from the bridge.
Oh, this won't do. This won't do at all.
So off he moaned to moan at someone that could do something about the loose bolt that should be holding the bridge together.
Someone could get hurt, you know.
He was shouting as he was escorted out of the library. At the police station, they gave him a complaint form to fill out. He actually very quietly enjoyed filling out complaint forms. It meant he could moan without wearing out his voice. In the section where it asked for his address, he wrote,
Number 14 Clyde Close. And by the way, the rubbish men left a mess last time they picked up my rubbish. It's just not good enough.
He went to his favourite place of all to moan, the City Council, and they gave him complaint forms to fill out. In the section where it asked for his phone number, he wrote,
My phone number is far too long to remember, and besides, I never ring it, so how am I supposed to remember it anyway? And it's too expensive, and what's wrong with sending letters? Nobody writes anymore.
He filled out complaint forms at the police station. He registered his concerns with the council. He wrote to the railway company a particularly long letter outlining the dangers involved with bolts coming loose on pedestrian railway bridges. Moany Macaroni moaned to his neighbours, moaned at the pizza delivery person. He didn't actually like pizza, he just got it delivered so he could have someone to moan to. He moaned to the postman.
A bolt, I tell you, just fell off the footbridge. Could you believe it?
He moaned to the dentist while getting the filling.
I don't really think bolts should be falling off footbridges, do you?
He moaned and whinged and whined and complained and went on and on and on. He very nearly got sick of hearing himself moan about the stupid bolt falling off the footbridge until one bright sunny Tuesday morning. Moany Macaroni didn't like Tuesdays.
What's the point? Silly day. They should be abolished.
He bought his newspaper, which he thought was stupid for never printing any of his stories, and there, on the front page, in big bold letters, Footbridge fallen bolt fixed, the headline said. The railway people had investigated the loose bolt Moany Macaroni had moaned about and figured that it was indeed the very bolt holding the whole bridge together. Moany Macaroni had saved the day. But no one knew. The newspaper had failed to print his name. The railway company had failed to mention his complaint. The pizza delivery boy just wasn't interested, and the library just said, shh. He was just ignored.
Typical! Absolutely typical! Try your best to do your bit for the community, and this is the thanks you get!
Moany Macaroni was quietly quite pleased with himself. Not only had he saved the day, he got absolutely no thanks for it whatsoever. Now he really had something to moan about.
You know, if it wasn't for me, that railway footbridge could quite easily have fallen over and hurt somebody, you know, and I didn't get any thanks, not one little squig. Oh no, it's too hard to thank Mr. Moany Macaroni. Oh yes, just far too hard. Just a simple cheers, thanks a lot would have been nice. Too much to expect, though. I suppose no one thanks anyone anymore. Even just a little card in the post would have been nice, but you know, they've put the price up on that now too. 45 cents for a I'm going to have stern words with somebody about this. Oh, this won't do. My number is far too long to remember, and besides, I never ring up the phone, I tell you. Just fell off the footbridge.
Now, here's a chance for you to win one of these 2 books. I'm about to give you a whole lot of clues. From those clues, I want you to try and guess when in history it is I am talking about. Here come those clues.
When in history am I?
On February the 18th of this year, Mark Twain publishes The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. On June the 6th, Louis Pasteur successfully gives an anti-rabies vaccine to a 9-year-old child, saving his life. On November the 10th, German engineer Gottlieb Daimler unveils the first motorcycle. On March the 14th of this year, Gilbert and Sullivan's comic opera The Mikado premieres in London at the Savoy Theatre.
When in history am I?
Now, if you reckon you know when in history that was, what year that was, go to our website, that's thestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us and send your answer, and from there, first correct answer will win one of these 2 books. Good luck. Now, Eloise the racehorse. What does Eloise have as a bit of a problem? What do you reckon? Let's find out.
Eloise tossed her head and neighed loudly. Today was the big race day, and everyone was excited. From where she stood in her field, she could just spy a procession of grand horses at the racetrack on the other side of the fence. Eloise wasn't going to the races, though. Despite being very proud of her brown and white speckled hair, cream-coloured mane, and long swooshing tail, she didn't match up to all the snooty thoroughbreds over the fence. She had been bought as a pony for her owner's young daughter Katie several years ago. Katie had loved her to bits, but was all grown up now and didn't come to visit very often. "Ah, Eloise, what shall we do with you?" wondered her owner one day as he cleaned out her small but comfy stable. "If only you were a fine racehorse, then we could enter you into the Grand Derby." Now, horses are smarter than you might think, and Eloise could understand every word. She also had excellent eyesight and was sure she could run just as fast as those thoroughbred horses. It's just she was never given the chance. Eloise pawed at the ground with her front hooves and looked over the fence again sadly. She'd love to take part in the race. The racetrack was filling up with women wearing posh hats and men in dark suits as the start of the big event got closer. Just then something caught her eye. A thin, scruffy-looking man in a shabby shirt and trousers. Eloise was just wondering what he was doing at the races when she saw him sidle up to a woman in a cream dress and hat and swipe her gold handbag from her chair. The woman was so busy chatting to her friend she didn't even notice. The man walked casually away before he broke into a jog. Eloise felt a flood of rage rush through her. No one else had noticed what had happened, and she was determined not to let the thief get away. She backed away from the fence, pawed at the ground with her hooves and tore through. The fence smashed into smithereens, but Eloise was so angry she didn't even notice. At the same time, the whistle blew at the racecourse, and 15 horses sprinted into action from the start line. Eloise came thundering through the field. She could see the thief running alongside the far end of the racetrack. She tore across the field and straight into the middle of the race. She was so determined to catch the thief, she didn't even notice she was running alongside the other horses, and even pulled ahead in front without realising it. Eloise was winning! Eloise was only concentrating on watching the thief, though, who had now dipped away from the racetrack and was running towards the car park. With a final burst of energy, Eloise left the track, took a sharp right turn through the crowd of spectators, and came to an abrupt halt right behind the thief. She nudged him sharply in the bum with her nose. He was so shocked at seeing a horse, he tripped right over his own feet and fell to the ground. Seconds later, the woman whose handbag had been stolen came running over with 2 security guards. A small crowd gathered around Eloise, all gasping with amazement at what she'd done. Behind them, Eloise spotted her owner running over after seeing his broken fence and all the commotion next door. He burst through the crowd and flung his arms around Eloise. "Well done, old girl. It looks like I did underestimate you. You're every bit as good as a racehorse. 3 cheers for Eloise!"
Okie diddly dokey, if you would like me to do a shout out to you in your classroom, then all you have to do is pop along to our website, that's thestory.co.nz. Click on contact us and send me your message from there. I'll do a shout out to you in your classroom on our next show. Now let's head to Norbert and Milo land. These guys are nuts.
Norbert and Milo's knock knock.
Norberty Norbert!
Yes, Milo, come on then, let's have it.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Courtney.
Courtney who?
Courtney won yet? Ha!
Very good, Milo.
Hello, it's time for a little bit of a problem-solving session. Quenton has a squiggly, wriggly problem. What do you reckon it is?
Quenton Quigley had a very squiggly problem. His nan had sent him a jumper she had knitted him for his birthday. It was the perfect length, it was the perfect snuggliness, but it had squiggly wiggly stripes all down the front. And Quenton Quigley was a polka dot kind of kid. See, Quenton Quigley just didn't do squiggles. He didn't like squiggly spaghetti for tea. He didn't like the squiggly joined-up handwriting his teacher did. And he especially didn't like the squiggly laces on his shoes. But Quenton Quigley did like his nan, even if she had given him a squiggly wiggly jumper. "Thank you, Nan," he said on the phone as he unwrapped it. "Yes, Nan," he said when she asked if he liked it. "Of course, Nan," he said when she asked if he would wear it when she came to visit. And that's how Quenton Quigley ended up at school with his squiggly wiggly jumper squished into his backpack. He decided he would put it on when the bell rang at the end of the day, before he met Nan at the gates. Quenton's day at school was pretty normal. He had show and tell in the morning, and Anna had brought in a geode she and her dad had found. It looked like a normal rock on the outside, but the inside was all glittery and full of crystals. Quenton thought that was really cool. After show and tell was maths, and then finally it was time for morning tea. Quenton loved morning tea. He got to play on the field with all his friends. It was while Quenton was playing on the field, he felt a small drop from the sky. And another. And another. Suddenly there was a big boom and the rain started falling very hard. Quenton and his friends dashed up the hill toward the classroom as fast as they could. They were absolutely soaked through. "Oh no," Miss Perry said when the boys arrived. "You'll all get colds. Go and change into your PE tops and put your wet shirts on the heaters to dry." Quenton paused. He had taken his PE top out of his bag that morning so he could fit in his squiggly wiggly jumper. He started to explain his problem to Miss Perry, but the second he said squiggly wiggly jumper, she didn't say, "Oh no, Quenton, don't worry, you don't have to change." Instead, she said, "A jumper! Perfect! Go and put that on. You'll warm up quick smart." So Quenton Quigley found himself trudging up to the toilets with his squiggly wiggly jumper balled up in his arms. He pulled it over his head and he looked at himself in the mirror. Just as he thought. Very squiggly. He walked back to class, nervous about what everyone would think. He paused at the door, took a deep breath and opened it. He shuffled over to his desk. But no one seemed to notice his squiggly wiggly jumper. In fact, they were all focused on Miss Perry's lesson. Phew, thought Quenton. Perhaps this squiggly wiggly problem wasn't that awful. And he was definitely much warmer than he had been in his t-shirt. That afternoon in Discovery, his friend Chris turned to him and said, "I like your jumper, Q. It's very you." "Is it?" Quenton replied. He thought everyone knew he was a polka dot kind of kid. Yeah, said Chris, it's green. That's still your favourite colour, isn't it? Quenton hadn't noticed the squiggly wiggly jumper was green. He was too distracted by the stripes on it. Chris was right. Green was Quenton's favourite colour. Perhaps his squiggly wiggly problem wasn't even bad. As they were packing up the classroom at the end of the day, Jess came over to Quenton. Your jumper looks so soft, Quenton. Can I touch it? Quenton said yes, and explained how his nan had knitted it for him on his birthday. Oh, wow, you're so lucky, Quenton. She must love you a lot. That's a good point, Quenton thought. He had once tried to knit a square for a class project, and it had taken him weeks. And it wasn't even that neat looking. His jumper looked very tidy, and it fit him so well. His nana must have spent ages making it. Quenton suddenly felt very special. When the school bell rang, Quenton rushed out to the gate to wait for his nan. She was up for the whole weekend, and Quenton was looking forward to spending time with her. They always had fun going on adventures to the beach or to the park. When he saw her, Quenton ran over to her. Quenton, she said, look at you, so tall, and in your new jumper. Hi, Nan, he said. I love my jumper. It's my favourite colour and it kept me warm all day in class. Look how good it fits. Quenton's Nan laughed. I'm glad you like it. They started walking home together. Quenton thought long and hard about his squiggly wiggly problem. He didn't seem to find a problem anywhere anymore. His friends had all liked it. It was super snuggly, and it made him feel really special. It still wasn't polka dotty, but Quenton didn't need everything to be polka dotty, he decided. As they were getting closer to the driveway, Quenton made an announcement. You know, I'm usually a polka dot kind of kid, Nana, but this jumper is my favourite jumper out of all of them. He meant that too. A polka dot kind of kid, his Nan replied. I'll remember that.
Why don't you draw me a picture of what you think Quenton looks like? Head for our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us. Have your teacher take a photo of your picture and you can upload it from there. The first photo of a picture of Quenton I get will win $100 worth of art supplies from Gordon Harris. So send that picture in. Now, what would you give as a Christmas present to an alien?
Christmas was coming, and Jeremy was starting to get just a wee bit excited. He loved Christmas. It was the best time ever. No school, lots of sunshine, and his grandparents visiting all the way from Great Barrier Island. Not to mention the great Christmas feast. Oh, and the presents, of course. The presents were one of the best things. But when he thought about presents, Jeremy started to get just a little bit worried. Jeremy wanted to buy his secret alien friends something really special for Christmas, something that would let them know just how much their secret friendship meant to Jeremy, and something that they could take back to their various planets, and it would remind them of Jeremy and all the good times they'd had together. When Jeremy thought back, him and his secret alien friends had done some pretty cool things. They'd had a picnic under the big cherry tree in Jeremy's garden. They'd had a special disco dance party. They'd had birthday parties, brunches, and even sleepovers, all totally hidden from the rest of Jeremy's family because nobody knew about Jeremy's secret alien friends, except, of course, for Jeremy himself. Jeremy had been thinking long and hard about what to get the aliens for Christmas. It had to be something that he could get a lot of, because he had a lot of secret alien friends, and they all lived complete galaxies away from each other. Some had even been known to time travel, and so lived in an entirely different universe way back in 1612. Yep, getting the aliens the perfect Christmas present was tricky, very tricky indeed. Jeremy had thought about lollies, chocolates and sweets, but he knew from experience that the aliens ate some very odd things and probably wouldn't be all that impressed with a Cadbury selection. Jeremy had thought about calendars with nice pretty pictures of New Zealand on them. But Jeremy figured that even though the scenery in New Zealand was pretty spectacular, it probably couldn't really compete with the mountain ranges of Moonlom or the great cavernous canyons of Serra Baldrum. Jeremy had considered t-shirts, but the aliens came in all sorts of weird shapes and sizes, and he was pretty sure that t-shirts in New Zealand didn't have holes for 2 or more heads. Plus, Jeremy didn't actually have all that much cash, despite having saved all of his pocket money for the past 2 weeks. What was a boy to do? And then, suddenly, Jeremy had it. The perfect gift. He knew exactly what he'd get the aliens for Christmas, and he knew that they'd love it. Jeremy got to work straight away. He snuck into his big brother Tony's room and quickly went through his personal folder of photographs that Tony had kindly stored on his computer. Jeremy sorted out all the pics of him with his secret alien friends. He turned on the printer and one by one began to print the pictures onto Tony's special photo paper. Tony would be mad if he ever found out, but Jeremy knew that his perfect alien Christmas present was worth the risk. When he had all the photos printed, Jeremy turned off the computer and quickly dashed back to his own room. Jeremy then spent the next few hours cutting and gluing, drawing and folding, and slowly but surely, Jeremy made a whole series of fantastic personalised Christmas cards, one for each and every single one of his special alien friends. Each card featured a special photograph of Jeremy with one of the aliens taking at their previous happy get-togethers. It was a great personal memento. Making all the cards was a huge job, but when he'd finished, Jeremy sat back and looked at his work. The aliens would love the special photo cards. Jeremy was very happy indeed. Just then, as Jeremy sat admiring his handiwork, Tony, back from his Saturday job at the takeaway bar, barged on into Jeremy's room. "Have you been on my computer?" Tony bellowed, picking up one of the alien photographic Christmas cards. "And why have you got all these photos just of yourself?" queried Tony. Jeremy shrugged and gathered up his cards. He knew that his secret alien friends were so very secret that only he could see them, and he knew that the aliens would love their special pictures. Despite getting the wrath of Big Brother Tony, the effort was worth it to create the perfect alien Christmas present.
That's my lot for another week. I hope you had a really cool day. I'll catch you again next week. Until then, ka kite anō.
I wanna hear the one about the big old plum tree. I wanna hear the one about the giggly bumblebee. I wanna hear the one about the juggly jumping flea. That's the story that I wanna hear. That's the story, that's the story, that's the story that I wanna hear. That's the story, that's the story, that's the story that I wanna hear.